may happen in some communist countries, but does this happen in Australia? Compulsory land acquisition. Can the government turn around and take your home away from you? Stay tuned. We're going to talk about it today.
Good morning, Mark.
Hi, Ledge.
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, good.
Compulsory land acquisitions. It's not something talked about often.
It's not, and look, I guess to qualify it, where it's not the field that we're in, but we, being an agent of 30 years, I'm going to be the guy that's going to profess to know a little bit about it. You're going to be the guy that's going to profess not to know much about it. We're going to do that Q&A.
Yeah.
But it does happen out there, hey? So governments need to buy assets for infrastructure, and those assets are sometimes owned by people, private families, businesses, and they need to resume land. And we're going to talk about some examples that we've seen. Price they pay, it is a thing in New South Wales and Australia. It does happen more than you think.
Yeah, and look, like I said, it's a thing that's not really talked about, and I guess I can sort of see it from both sides. Of course, as a private owner of your home, it's your block of land. Why should you have to move against your will, pretty much? So I completely understand why someone might want to be staying there when they don't want to move. And then I completely can see on the side of the government in terms of, I guess, for the greater good, when it's not just one individual, but it's affecting thousands, millions of individuals potentially, where something needs to be upgraded, which is the benefit to the many. It's the one versus the many.
And you know what? It's a bit of potluck, guys. You may think that these people are unlucky or lucky. I guess the interpretation is different for everyone, but some people are chasing these acquisitions and understanding where they are, because they are huge infrastructure upgrades generally that will require these sorts of acquisitions. That's when you see it or hear about it more, when they're scaled.
Yes.
And then those areas benefit from those acquisitions. So an example of one, Beeline Bus.
Beeline Bus. So along where all those Beeline bus stops were there, now I'm stretching my memory with it, were there certain stops where there was private housing there beforehand that got moved on?
Yeah.
So with those guys there, what would have been the process? Would the government have come knocking on their door and given them a certain time frame with everything? Or how would the whole process have worked with that?
You get a letter in the post.
Not fun.
They don't come with a bag of cash, or with dancing Brazilian ladies. They generally it's generally in the post, though. You'll get something and it'll say, due to the blah 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 blah. I've actually never seen one. I've heard clients refer to them, but
yes.
You'll get that, and they'll be saying, look, it's got to be done. So the Beeline Bus, to give you an idea, was a $300 million upgrade, and part of that infrastructure was pulling buses away and off the road, so the road, when they stop, so the road can flow freely. And for that reason, the roads were built, the houses were built, the front fences were done, and they looked at this area from a map and from the ground and from every aspect, and thought, you know what, this is the lowest hanging fruit. That's the one we've got to go for. And they went around and bought some homes.
Yeah. Interesting. And so what time frame would they have given to these guys? Like, is this something that would have been introduced to the owners of these houses years ago? Would have been months in advance? What sort of rough timeframes are we talking about?
Look, the acquisition process it's not something that happens quickly, and it's a very diplomatic process. Good morning, Mindy. Thank you for your support, Luke. Good morning, legend, and good morning, Mark Kent. Well, this is obviously something that a conveyancing solicitor would advise before acquiring a property in a zone for potential. Yep. Sometimes you'll never know, Mark. So sometimes some of these people have been in these areas for such a long time, and they just won't get wind of that acquisition that's going to get made. So that, for instance, that Beeline bus, and if for people that don't know that are not on the Northern Beaches, it's a rapid transport system where they said, we're going to take a conventional bus and we're going to make it super, super fast, and we're going to paint it yellow. And the way we're going to make it real fast is we're going to make it only stop in a couple of locations, and we're going to let it pull in, pull out real fast. We're going to time lights, we're going to time bays, we're going to buy a whole bunch of properties for it, so they can pull in, pull out easy on that 20 kilometre run. So you sort of wouldn't have known that, or your conveyancer sort of, sometimes can pick it, sometimes can't pick it. That one you wouldn't be able to pick like a Beeline bus.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think it'd be much more obvious in some areas. Like if you're in a major hub or like you're on a main road there, you always think, am I more likely to be earmarked for it versus in the back of the suburbs? And I just think sometimes you just have absolutely no clue as well as people that have obviously lived in their homes for many, many years. A more recent purchase, you're more likely to know it coming into it. But someone that's been there for a long time, how are you to know when it's 20 years in advance?
Yeah, look, I think the metro that's going in all around Sydney, the tunnels that are going in all around Sydney, a lot of these tunnel systems have breathers.
Yeah.
And these breathers are massive. They can be the size of a building, and they come straight from the core of the tunnel, and they go straight up. You could get it again. You'd like to hope they could move the tunnel around and so they can get the breathers in the right place, but it's quite the opposite.
Yeah.
So the tunnel's where it's going, where it's going, and then you'll get a letter saying we need your land, and then up goes that breather. So I'm actually on the Beeline run in a couple of minutes. I'll go live for you from a Beeline location, just to show you how they chop away and acquire land.
Interesting. Yeah. And the burning question, I'm sure, would be on a lot of people's minds: what price do they pay? So if they're saying, okay, we're going to be taking your land, and you think your property's worth X, how much will they pay? Are they going to pay at market value, below market value, above market value, or is it luck of the draw?
They say it's not below market. They say it's not above market. They say it's market. I had a client that was part of the Beeline acquisition that had a development site, undeveloped, with a DA. And they insisted that that profit that was going to be made had to be paid, because they were like, we've unlocked the potential in the property by getting this DA. You are going to pay for the potential. Didn't happen.
Yeah, see, that's a really tough one. So for someone that's just got a standard residential house, it's probably a bit easier. You look at comparable sales around in the area, you can come to a pretty accurate idea of roughly what it's worth. But for a site that hasn't had its potential realised yet, that's a lot of, obviously, if they went through with it, I'm sure they would have realised that potential, made that profit. But from a government perspective, to actually have that as money in the bank to say, yeah, okay, we'll pay you on that, that's a really tough one.
It's a real tough one. An example, again, we had a movie cinema in Neutral Bay, Mossman, where they simply couldn't pull the traffic away. And I'm going to see if I can show it to you from the sky. They couldn't pull the traffic away from the road, so they had to delete the movie cinema, which was a real bummer for the locals. Let me show you how they sliced away at this piece of land. Hey, by the way, if you ever use Apple Maps, very good.
Apple Maps?
Very, very good. Very, very
Google
good.
Maps used to be the preferred one.
Oh, no. the Apple Maps. Here we are, guys and girls. Okay, here we are. This is actually, I'm actually sitting in front of it. I'm gonna try to show you. But I'm gonna. So this is they've actually turned it to a development site.
Yep.
So it used to be a huge cinema. But see that
Yes.
red lane, and the lane beyond and beyond that. Okay, I'm going to show you what it looks like in Apple Maps now. It looks like this. So what they did is they chewed up all that red, all that white, and all that orange right next to above my finger.
Yeah.
They bought that. So they bought a couple 100 meters squared of land. And pretty much the building got knocked down because it didn't have the room to take those extra 2 lanes. So then that person, they completely got rid of their site. It came up for sale and it sold it as it is now, and then a developer put a DA on it. But that's compulsory acquisition for you.
Yeah, and look, that's the thing, because when you look at it in isolation with the road, it makes sense. People are going to complain if there's not enough flow of traffic. People are going to say, oh, it's too congested. It's not a good area to live. So when you think about it, it affects everyone positively that lives in that area. But by the same token, like you said, a lot of the locals would have been sad to lose their cinema with it as well. So it's really... I don't think you can really just do something solely that is only beneficial to everyone. You've got to take a step backwards a little bit before you can take a step forwards.
You got to take one for the team.
Yeah. Interesting.
Unfortunately, so it is out there, guys and girls. Keep an eye out. Is there a way, as Mark Kentwell mentioned, there's make sure your conveyance is doing their relevant searches to see if there's any major infrastructure surrounding where you're buying to keep yourself protected against it. But sometimes you just can't stop the flow, and compulsory acquisition will happen. Steve Wiseman's also asked a question.
Mark, it's a negotiation process and the property valuer may be able to assist. Interesting.
There you go. So I think at the time, look, from what I've seen from clients, it is definitely a process. It is definitely a fair process. It's a just process. It's a diplomatic process, but it still hurts some people. I don't see, most often than not, I don't see people cheering after their property's been compulsory acquired. They're normally sort of a bit sheepish about it.
Well, it's tough because when a developer approaches you and says, hey, I want your house for a site, you as the owner feel like, I hold all the cards. I have the strength. I can negotiate a good, strong price. Right. When the government comes knocking on your door and says it, you go, yeah, they're being polite about it, but once it all washes away, do I really have much of a say in it? And I think there's a bit of a different sentiment there. And
make no mistake, a developer can't force it. A government can force it. They have the right. They have the right to air above. They have the right to minerals. They have the right to a lot of the. You don't own everything when you own a block of land.
Interesting.
Or a house.
Yeah. Very good. Hopefully that's been a bit helpful for you guys in terms of, literally outside of today, I don't think it's something that's discussed very often whatsoever. So it's good to air it so people know.
It's a bit taboo, but it's around everyone, guys. So it happened in French's Forest, where there was a $180 million road upgrade in French's Forest. Outside of the hospital, there was compulsory acquisition on the roads. On Warringah Road, there was compulsory acquisition. On the B line, there was compulsory acquisition. On the new tunnel, they've got they have to compulsory acquire 55 homes, and they've compulsory acquired 35 homes for the new tunnel going into the northern beaches. And the next one, which people don't really know about, is really, really interesting. And it came up in the Brookvale meeting today. Good morning, Lise. Great to see you this morning, Lise. Been a long time. And Nicole, how are you? Government is literally It's true. It's true. No, I can't use big words like that, but it is true. Carte blanche. The next one that we're going to see roll out on the northern beaches, if the government funding comes across from state government, is one of the most heated intersections in Sydney, is the Warringah Road and Pittwater Road and Harbour
Ooh.
Road intersection. And they are seeking government funding to do, instead of doing the road doing this,
Yep.
like, cars
Right,
going this
overlap.
way, cars going
Yeah.
this way, they're going to get it to do this.
They're going to get like an overpass over it.
Underpass, overpasses,
Yeah.
and that, make no mistake, will require compulsory acquisition, and some of those beautiful elevated row shops and properties will not be elevated anymore, or could be above, could be below road decks. And then there's going to be, you'll find that there'll be I think they call them portals. When you disappear under the highway, portals will go down, and it's going to be interesting. Compulsory acquisition. So that's probably the next hot little area around there.
Yeah, once again, you can see from both sides. As a traffic goer, it sounds brilliant. Like, everyone who drives that way knows how shocking the traffic can be at that intersection. So I understood your visuals, Mark.
Thank you.
Maybe not everyone out there, but I understand what you're saying.
What's this one then?
I don't understand that one. Is that rain?
This one, no, chandelier.
Chandelier, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Show and tell. Very interesting.
Well done, Michael. And for anyone who doesn't know, Michael only woke up about 3 minutes before the show because he forgot about it. I think you've done a really good job pulling it together.
Thank you, Mark.
In 3 minutes, you can put on a lot of clothes and look all right. It's well done, mate.
Thank you very much. I groomed myself.
And if no one believes me, this was the call that went to Michael. There you go. Look, what does that say?
That says 7:41.
7:41. I called Michael, and he was asleep.
Unfortunately, some other people can empathise with me. Last night I was up till 2 a.m. with some leaks in the house, and I accidentally slept in this morning.
And 7:46 he called and said, "I'm ready." So it took you 5 minutes to be...
5 minutes to be this.
Wow. Well done. Well done.
That's it, like a movie star.
Yeah.
It's showtime. The show goes on.
Lee says, God help you when you have a child. But guys, that's compulsory acquisition. Share this with a friend if you're talking about it. That's what helps us. So circulate it out there when you're having a chat about it. Have a great day. And Michael, thank you for coming on. I know it's hard work to juggle stuff. So
thank
see
you
you
guys.
next Wednesday.
Thanks,
see you
Mark.
guys. Cheers.